Bonjour, welcome to Wahsa Distance Education Center's radio Zoom classes. This is MEL3E, grade 11 workplace math, and I am the teacher, Bronwyn Slade. If you'd like to participate live today, you can call the Wahsa studio at 1-800-465-7144 or 737-4017. You can listen on the radio at 91.9 FM and also on the television at Bell Express View Channel 972. You are always welcome to join me live through the Zoom link, which is available both from me, your teacher, and also your DEC. Our classes are scheduled Monday through Thursday from 9 until 10 in the morning, and we are in our 9th and final week of our class. This is actually our final session together. So you should be submitting work for marking. Reminder that the support questions, the ones with the little pencil icon, are not for marking. These are practice problems, and you decide which ones and how many to do. If you're understanding concept, it's okay to skip some or all of these questions if you just don't have the time. But also, if you need more practice, please let me know, and I'm happy to send you more practice. The key questions, however, the ones with the little key icon, are the ones to submit for marking. So these ones, you need to do all of the questions. You need to show all of your work, your steps, your thinking. This way I can understand what it is that you understand, and that gives me more information so that I can help you if you are making mistakes. So how do you actually submit your work for marking? There's 3 methods. The first is to scan your work and send it electronically. If you have a device, you can scan using that device. Apple devices has a Notes app, and Android devices has a Google Drive app. These are both free apps that come with the devices and are fairly straightforward to use. However, on my YouTube channel, I have some tech tutorials that walk you through step-by-step how to use these apps if you need some support. So go check that out. Then once you have an electronic file, you can either email to studentwork@nnec.on.ca and CC to bronwyn.slate@nnec.on.ca, or you can send it to me through Facebook Messenger, where my name is B. Slate Wahsa. The second method is to drop your work off in Sioux Lookout. We have an outdoor mailbox at 74 Front Street. We are the bright red building next to the post office. We have a small white mailbox next to our side entrance. You can just put your work in there at any time, and I'll get it back to you as soon as I can. The third method is to hand your work into your DEC. Your DEC can either send your work through the Express or fax it to 807-737-1732 or toll-free fax to 1-800-463-7852. Students can also fax in their work. Just give us a heads up that it's coming, as sometimes things get lost in the shovel. If you'd like to connect with me through social media, both my Facebook profile and my YouTube channel are under the name B. Slate Wahsa. All of our radio Zoom classes are recorded, and I upload them to YouTube shortly after broadcasting. They're there all in a playlist called MEL3E, which is our course code. So everything is really easy to find there. And I also share them through Facebook, so you can find them through Facebook as well. Also on my YouTube channel, there are short videos that explain common errors and confusing concepts. So if you are struggling with something, that might be a good place to go and check it out, as there might be something that I've made a short video, maybe 5 minutes, maybe 3 minutes, that walks you through something that just really focuses on that. Math is a really visual subject, so I strongly encourage you to access the videos. This is going to set you up for the most success and really give you the most information. If you can't join me live through Zoom or watch the YouTube videos on your own time, let me know, and I'm happy to send you a copy of the recordings so you still have access to all of the videos so that you can use them however works best for you. So if you have any questions or concerns, please reach out and connect with me. You can email me at bronwyn.slate@nnec.on.ca. Connect with me through Facebook, where my name is B. Slate Wahsa. Give me a call at 807-737-1488, extension 2209, or toll-free 1-800-667-3703. My office hours are Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. Though I teach, well, I have been teaching from 9 to 11, so if you call me today, that won't work, but otherwise, give me a call between 8 and 2, and I am likely to be able to support you. Today is our final review day. We are reviewing Unit 4, which focuses on lessons 16 through 20. So our previous 3 sessions, we've done the other 3 units. So unit 1, 2, and 3 are all we've reviewed already. So you can go and find those videos on my YouTube channel if you missed one. And today we're focusing on unit 4, which is our final day. But first, let's do our last brain activation and do some mental math to wake ourselves up. Mad Math minutes generally just cause stress and anxiety in students as they focus on time, doing things fast, and having lots of things memorized. I don't believe that that is a great mathematical strategy. Instead, I think that it's important to think deeply and make connections in order to do arithmetic. So our question today is 24 times 91. And we're using the strategy of partial products. So with partial products, usually what I suggest is I say you break your number up into place values. So 20 plus 4 times 90 plus 1, and you put this in a box. But I was thinking about it and I was like, well, if say you don't know your 4 times tables, that isn't easier. You can actually still break your numbers up even smaller. So you could do 20 plus 2 plus 2, and that would work too. That would still be, you're still gonna do your numbers in partial products, and you're just gonna do what's more friendly for you. So the same as we could do 90, instead of doing 90, we could do 30 plus 30 plus 30, or 50 plus 40. There's lots of different options. Again, you can choose what works best for you. I often just do the most efficient way of that strategy, but that's because I'm confident with my multiplication tables, something that was drilled into my brain. And so it's easy for me to access, but you can do different arrangements depending on what your needs are. So let's just do this version where we have 20 plus 2 plus 2 times 90 plus 1. So 20 times 90, well, 2 times 9 is 18. So 20 times 90 is going to be 1,800, because I have to increase it by 2 factors of 10, because 20 and 90. 2 times 90 is going to be 180. And 2 times 90 again is going to be 180. And then 20 times 1 is going to be 20. 2 times 1 is going to be 2. 2 times 1 is going to be 2. So then we just need to add these up together. And we can do these in different ways, again, depending on what is friendly for you. This one, the 180 and 20, I know that is equal to 200. So then I can say, well, that if I add that 200 to 1,800, that is 2,000. So now I have 2,000, and then I have 184, because 2 plus 2 is 4. So that is a way to do partial products where you are breaking up into whatever friendly numbers work for you. Before we dive into a review of Unit 4, I want to just remind you again what the final assessment looks like, so you know what to expect when you're letting me know you're ready for it. So it is not an exam. It is a culminating assignment. So it is a project that's going to take you a significant chunk of time to work on. It still covers all 20 of the lessons. So you still have to know all of the material, but it's open book. So you have access to your assignments, to the YouTube videos, to your IEL booklet with instructions there, to the Desmos calculator, to Google Maps, any tools that you need. You can talk to other people. You can ask me clarifying questions. So you have lots of resources that you can access. It's not timed, but it will have a deadline. So we'll discuss this when you are ready to do it. We will decide if 2 weeks, 3 weeks, what works best within your life. that's reasonable to make sure that you have enough time to complete it, but recognize that this is something that takes more than 2 hours to do. It takes quite a few hours to do the whole project. And the structure is likely going to be unfamiliar. It's the material, the content is everything that you know what to do, but it is a project that incorporates connecting all of the things that we've learned together in a practical context. So it isn't just answering individual questions, it is doing a road trip project. So you don't have to have been on a road trip. You just need to follow the instructions and use the tools that we've learned in our class to figure out how to finance a road trip. So let's look at our lessons in Unit 4. Lesson 16, we were talking about vehicle costs. So we've talked about purchasing vehicles, but this is the expenses that are involved in using a vehicle and keeping it maintained and in working order. So you need to pay things like insurance, car payments. You need to change the oil and oil filters regularly. You need to have tires. It is safest to have winter tires and summer tires, as we've talked about before. You also need to pay for registrations and licensing, then gasoline, oil, wiper fluid, things that you use up, consumables, air filters, any replacement parts and repairs. These are all things that you need to be planning for as they come up. Some of these costs are monthly and you just sort of do them constantly. Other things happen once a year or every 4 years or something like that, but then are bigger expenses and you need to plan for them and save for them because all of a sudden you need new winter tires or new summer tires, and that's going to be a couple $100. And so having planned for that makes it more manageable. Then we talked about fuel efficiency and how this impacts how much gas and how much money you're going to spend on gas. So just basic understanding, fuel efficiency refers to the distance you can travel on an amount of fuel. So anything that is listed as less than 6 liters per 100 kilometers or more than 16.5 kilometers per 1 liter is considered to be pretty good fuel efficiency. Generally, we talk about it in terms of liters per 100 kilometers is the most common way that I've seen. So the lower number of liters that is stated, the better fuel economy because it takes less liters to go a farther distance. In Canada, we talk about liters per 100 kilometers. In the US, they talk about miles per gallon. So that's something that you might see, but we're going to focus on liters per 100 kilometers. Also, I have this little graphic here to remind you that gas prices have been going up steadily for the last year and more. So being conscious of your fuel efficiency, realizing that you can go a farther distance on a more fuel efficient vehicle is good financial decision making. All right, let's look at our support questions from lesson 16. Number 1 on page 4, the following are car expenses that Kristen occurred in 1 year. $41.56 in oil, $48 in wiper fluid, $1,129.43 in insurance, $175 per month in gas, a $12 air filter, and a $327.18 monthly car payment. The total kilometers she drove in that 1 year was 21,395 kilometers. So how much did Kristen spend on her car in 1 year? So most of these listed are per year, but the monthly gas and the monthly car payment are not. So these ones we need to times by 12 in order to get the whole amount. So you just need to be paying attention to that when you are doing these sorts of questions, is that you need to recognize if there's some things, you want everything to be in the same, like per year. So we have for gas, she spent 21 $100 in the year. And for the car payment, $327.18 times 12 is equal to $3,926.16. Is how much she paid in car payments. So for the whole year, we just need to add up all of these different things. So oil, I'm not going to write them all out because they're just already written up on my screen. I'm just going to add them up on my calculator. Again, this is what I discourage you doing. I encourage you to show your work, but for the sake of time, we have a lot to review today. I'm just going to add them up on my calculator, which you can see. So you can see what it is that I'm doing, which is why I tell you to show your work, is so that you can see, I can see what you're doing. So in the year, she spent $7,257.15 on her vehicle. So then how much did it cost her per month to run her car? So we're going to take our full yearly amount and divide it by 12 to figure out what it is monthly. So it's about $604.76 per month. And what is the per kilometer cost of running her car? So we want cost per kilometers. So that means we're going to do the total cost, $7,257.15 divided by the total kilometers, 21,395. So that means that by doing that division, we can figure out that it costs 34 cents a kilometer for her to drive for that year. And that's number one. Number 4 on page 6, Lester needs a new muffler installed on his vehicle. He purchases a new exhaust system for his car that costs $487.26. How much is the exhaust system per month if it lasts for 10 years? So again, we're looking for cost per time. So we're going to do $487.26 divided by that. We're looking for the cost per month. So we need the monthly cost, but it's for 10 years. So we need to times it by 10 to figure out, because that's how many months there are in 10 years. Now, most of us don't really think about the cost of things like this. We just think about, oh, it's so super expensive to just do this one time. But really, what it means is that it's $4.06 per month. So for 10 years, this exhaust system is costing Lester $4.06. How much is the exhaust system per kilometer if he drives 192,000 kilometers with that exhaust system? So again, we're looking for cost per kilometer. So that means that we're going to do $487.26 divided by 1,990. 192,000 kilometers. There we go. And that shows us that it is less than 1 cent per kilometer. So it is 0.3 cents per kilometer. So that exhaust system doesn't cost you very much for the amount of driving that Lester does. Number 5, calculate the amount of fuel that is needed. If you will just do one of these. If you are traveling 418 kilometers with a vehicle that uses 7.6 liters per 100 kilometers. So to figure out how much fuel you need, you do your distance, 418 kilometers, times 7.6 liters divided by 100 kilometers. So 418 times 7.6 divided by 100 is equal to 31.77 liters. Is how much liters you would need to drive that distance with that vehicle. So to calculate the cost of fuel, if you have 45 liters and you know that it's 97.9 cents per liter, then you just multiply those two together. So 45 liters times 97.9 cents is equal to 4,405.5 cents. Now that's not really useful. We don't talk about cents like that. So really think about there's 100 cents in $1. So that is equal to $44.06 is something that is more useful. So that is the cost of buying that $45 liters of fuel at that price. Then we don't have time to do this question, but number 7 is how much gas can be purchased with each of the dollar amounts given. So here if you have $5, you divide it by the number of liter, or so the number of the price per liter, and that'll figure out how much liters there are. All right, lesson 17, traveling distances. So in lesson 17, we estimated distances on maps. Basically, 2 places are very rarely on a map connected by a straight line. That's not how geography works. Our roads go around things. So estimation when you're looking at a map is really quite useful because we don't need it necessarily to be exact. We looked at scale on a map and how it shows the size of the area represented by the map. So it shows how much you have shrunk it. To use estimation effectively, you must have a scale on the map to calculate your distances so that you know what your scale is. You know how much you shrunk it. Usually a scale is given in one of the corners of a map, both electronically and physically. So if you are estimating distances using a scale, these are the 5 steps you need to follow. Step 1, measure the scale given on the map and write it as a ratio so you know what your measurement is equal to. Then step 2, use a ruler to measure the distance from the 2 points. I suggest that you only measure straight-ish distances. Don't worry too much about winking and walking around lots of little curves. Step 3 is add all your estimated distances measured up together, figure out the total. Step 4, write an equation with the scale and the unknown x, the unknown distance, to represent the distance in kilometers that you're looking for and compare it to the one that you measured. And then step 5, solve for x using cross multiplication and dividing. So go back to lesson 17 if you need to look at that a little bit more in detail. Then we also looked at estimating distances using technology. using the internet, they will generally give you estimated driving times as well as directions, as well as distances. We looked at Google Maps as our primary place to use a technology to look at maps. There's various different apps and things that are very, very similar. All right, so here is some practice to find an unknown distance. So we haven't measured, but we've just been given the ratios. So for number 2 on page 18, find the unknown distance in kilometers represented by X. So we have 6 kilometers to 10 millimeters. So that means that on a map, 10 millimeters, so 1 centimeter, is equal to 6 kilometers in real life. So if we've measured 55 millimeters, 5.3 centimeters on our map, we're wondering how much is that worth, or how big is that distance in real life? So our ratios are set up. We want to, so when we're cross multiplying and dividing, we're just doing algebra. You don't have to cross multiply and divide. It is just one way that organizing your information is consistently works. So 6 times 53 is equal to 10 times x, 10x. And then we're going to divide both sides by 10. So using our calculator, 6 times 53 divided by 10 is equal to 31.8. So the distance that this 53 millimeters represents is 31.8 kilometers in real life. Again, in this scale, 25 kilometers is equal to 5 millimeters on the map. So we're zoomed out more. Yeah, a smaller distance is equal to a bigger real life distance. So 73 millimeters is going to be equal to how much? Again, we cross multiply. So 25 times 73 is equal to 5x. Divide both sides by 5 in order to isolate for x. Sorry if that x is messy. So 25 times 73 divided by 5 is equal to 365 kilometers. So in real life, that distance, that 73 millimeter distance, is 365 kilometers. All right, number 3 on page 19, it says, using the map provided below, find the distance between each of the towns or cities. So here you need to measure the scale here. This is the scale where it says this distance from here to here is equivalent of 2 miles. We live in Canada, so we generally talk about kilometers. So this distance from here to here is equivalent to 5 kilometers. So you need to measure that. And then you go through and you measure the distances. So from Pickering to Oshawa, is fairly straight on the 401, but you can sort of measure this distance and then this distance and this distance and this distance. I don't have a ruler that I can show you that this makes sense, so I'm not going to be able to show you, but you measure each of those distances and then you set up your ratios, and then you continue with the same with all of the other ones. The same, if you're not doing something that's straight along the 401, like let's see, going from, they're all pretty Oshawa. Here, Oshawa to Hampton. So here's Oshawa and here's Hampton. So you decide, are you going to go straight up and straight over? That's one option. Are you going to go over, down, along here, and then straight up? Another option. Both are totally fine. I'm not attached to which one you're doing. You just need to, you're not going to go like this, Oshawa to Hampton. There's no roads that go straight like that. So you need to follow the roads. All right, number 4, using Google Maps to find the distance and estimate travel time between the following destinations. So you look out Ontario to Pickle Lake. So we're going to use Google Maps. We're going to have to open that up. I always just search Google Maps instead of typing in maps.google.com. So we want to go from Sioux Lookout to Pickle Lake. So here, this is the direction, this little blue diamond with an arrow inside it. So you can click on that and then you just put your starting point in, which is Sioux Lookout. Often it has this auto population you can then click on, and then your destination is Pickle Lake. And then it will show you, it'll zoom out and it gives you your different driving options. So then you can go, you have these two options. If you want to go down to Silver Dollar and then up, or if you just want to go straight to Savant Lake and then up north, then here it tells you that this route, the blue route we currently selected to go to Savant Lake straight and then up, is 4 hours and 12 minutes, which is 263 kilometers. Whereas going the other route, going on the 599 highway, that's 4 hours and 57 minutes, which is 309 kilometers. There's an algorithm that calculates on average based on traffic and weather, I think, that gives you roughly these. So these might be different when you're doing your culminating or even your assignments in lesson 17. These you might end up having slightly different depending on the time of day that you're doing it. And that's okay. The distances should be the same. That timeline might be slightly different. So generally we want to go the fastest route. So 4 hours and 12 minutes, which is 263 kilometers. We want to go from Thunder Bay to Ignace, which is part B. Again, we just type in Thunder Bay to Ignace. And we see there's basically just one route, which is 2 hours and 44 minutes, 246 kilometers. They also give you transit. So there's a bus that you could take. And so they give you that information as well. If there's transit that's available, there's no transit between Sioux Lookout and Pickle Lake, so that wasn't given. And it also can tell you how long it would take to walk it or to ride a bike, which can be useful, not necessarily for everyone for this amount of distance, but for if you're in town or something, that might be useful to know how far it is to walk something or bike something. All right, lesson 18 is planning a trip, which is really, really important for your culminating assignment because that's part of what you're doing. I mean, we're pulling all these other pieces, but we are planning a trip in your culminating assignment. So things to consider are your travel distance. How far can you actually travel in a day? What's realistic? Do you have kids or pets to consider? As you may not be able to travel as far if you have these small creatures in your vehicle. Is your goal to get to the final destination or is it to enjoy the journey? These are two different types of trips. Both are completely valid, but you're going to drive differently depending on if you're just trying to get somewhere or if you are stopping along the way and not going as far per day. You want to consider your fuel costs, your accommodations, both when you're on the road, but also when you're at your final destination. You need to think about food, the costs for breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks, whatever makes sense for you. You got to think about taxes. There's different tax rates in different provinces, so that's important to consider. You also want to think about entertainment. If you're going on a trip, you are probably going to be spending money on fun and you want to budget for that. So if you are cost of admission to get into places, and if you're buying any souvenirs, shopping, you want to plan for all of that. In lesson 18, there's no support questions. You just follow through the questions and you hand in the whole work of all the work that you do. But we're just going to quickly look at planning a trip from Sioux Lookout to Toronto. So again, if we go back to our Google Maps, If we're starting in Sioux Lookout and we're going to Toronto, now you can just drive this straight, but it is 18 hours and 54 minutes. So 19 hours is a really long time to just drive and not stay overnight. Usually in my family, we stop once or twice, depending on if we're traveling with the small human who now is part of our family. Before the small human, we did not. We'd stop once. Now we generally stop twice. So what you can do is you can add, sorry, I didn't show you. Here you have this plus add a destination. So here you're going to say, okay, well, maybe you're going to stop in Nipigon. Did I spell it wrong? No. Now, right now, my map is saying I'm going from Sioux Lookout to Toronto and then back to Nipigon. So now it's a 32-hour trip. That's not what I meant. I wanted to stop in Nipigon between Sioux Lookout and Toronto. So I'm going to click on my little dot over here to the left and drag it up. So now I reordered it. And so now I'm going from Sioux Lookout to Nipigon to Toronto. So I've stopped there. And then I'm going to add another destination. And I'm going to say I'm going to stop in Sault Ste. Marie in Ontario. Again, this is our last place. So it's saying I'm going to Toronto, then back to Sault Ste. Marie. I'm going to move it up. And now, so I have that I'm starting in Sioux Lookout, driving to Nipigon, Sault Ste. Marie, driving to Sault Ste. Marie, driving to Toronto. Overall, it tells me, well, my distance is the same because I just stopped in cities along the way. But here, if I go down here to where it says details underneath my route, it opens it up and it tells me the different breaks. It gives me directions, which I may or may not need, but it goes from Sioux Lookout to Nipigon is 5 hours and 20 minutes, which is 489 kilometers. And then if I scroll down from Nipigon to Sault Ste. Marie, it's 6 hours and 24 minutes, which is 586 kilometers. And then from Sault Ste. Marie to Toronto is 7 hours and 11 minutes, which is 702 kilometers. So it breaks it up. So when you are planning a trip with multiple stops, then you could use this directions tool, and that tells you the different length of the different parts. I think you can only do 10 destinations, but then you can just stop. You don't have to do them all in one. So that's how you use Google Maps to plan multiple destinations. You can also drag your points if you decide you wanted to do something different, and then that can sometimes give you different information. If you want to go in the States or something, then that changes it. So you don't just have to type things in. Sometimes you don't know where you want to go or where you want to stop, and you can just drag them and be like, I think stopping around here is a good idea. And then they're like, there's nothing really there. Okay, keep going. Or you can zoom in and be like, okay, I'm going to stop in White River. And then move your cursor to White River. And then that gives you more information. If you have any questions, please reach out and ask. It is a little bit different than all of the other things that we've done. All right, lesson 19 was reading charts and schedules. So lesson 18 was more about planning a road trip. Lesson 19 is looking at more at schedules and bus, trains, and planes. So when you're traveling by these other methods, it's essential to be able to interpret your charts and schedules, as well as the costs associated with different methods of travel, as there's a lot of information out there and it can be overwhelming. Things to consider: departure and arrival times may be in 24-hour clocks. So that's something to pay attention to. Times are based on local time zones often. So duration might look long or short if you're crossing time zones. I've made the mistake of trying to take the Casper bus and getting confused with the time zones because it gives it both in Central Time in Sioux Lookout and also in Eastern Time on Thunder Bay. And that just totally messed me up and I missed my bus. So paying attention to these things and really double checking and triple checking and really making sure that your time is right is really important. Prices might be per person. one way, or have additional fees. So all of this is things to pay attention to. Again, taxes are going to be based on the local province or territory. So if you are flying somewhere and then flying back, your prices might be different because the taxes are different. You need to pay attention to stops, transfers, and layovers, because these are, again, things that are going to be built into the schedule that if you're just driving, you don't pay attention to because you're in control of your travel time. Sorry, I'm having some technical issues with, I'm going backwards, that's why. Pressing the wrong arrow. Sorry about that. Okay, so the support questions for lesson 19 on page 36. Number 1, use the schedule below to answer the following questions. Part A, what is the departure time from Oshawa and arrival time in Toronto on July 27th, 2005? So as you can see, this booklet has not been updated. This part of the booklet at least has not been updated for a long time, as this is a really old schedule. But it's not too different from Via Rail doesn't run too much. Anyway, so the departure time from Oshawa. So we're looking for on July 27th. So we okay, here, July 27th, we're departing from Oshawa at 16:11. So 16:11, that's a 24-hour clock. So that's 4 p.m. Well, 4:11 p.m. So being comfortable with how you just subtract 12 hours. 60 take away 12 hours is 4. Is how you convert. And then part B, what is the departure time from Toronto and arrival time? Oh, I had to do arrival time. I didn't do that. Okay, so it arrives in Toronto at 16:46, which is 4:46. The distance between Oshawa and Toronto is not very big. Then part B, what is the departure time from Toronto and arrival time in Winnipeg on the same date? So this is the first leg of your trip, your second leg of your trip. So now it is, you depart at 9 o'clock. Now, because it's 9 o'clock, that means that it's 9 o'clock a.m., which means it's probably the next day. It's not actually July 27th anymore. And because this is your transfer, you can't transfer back in time. And then in Winnipeg, you arrive at 15:45, which is 3:45 p.m. on July 29th. So they tell you here that you arrive on July 29th. So because you're traveling with the train, you're there for multiple days. Number 2, use the schedule from the previous page to answer the following questions. I've pulled the schedule here so we can see it. How many people are traveling with this itinerary? So we actually don't see that on this page. That's information actually isn't useful for us. So number 3, use the schedule chart below to answer the following questions. How many buses leave from Montreal to Toronto? So we can see that there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 buses. Which bus schedule is the quickest? So we're going to look at duration to see the quickest. So these ones down here that are 7 hours. So the 2:30 bus and the 4:30 bus in the afternoon are the shortest buses, so they're the quickest time. How much is saved if the ticket is purchased 7 days in advance instead of walk up a standard price? So if you buy it here, it looks like it's half the price almost if you buy it ahead of time, opposed to just walking up and getting on the bus. And why is there a 1 in the transfer column? So here, why is there a 1? So that's telling me that there is 1 transfer. You're probably transferring in Ottawa. That's just because I know the area, but it doesn't tell us anywhere that it's Ottawa. I'm just saying that you have one transfer that you have to change buses. All right, lesson 20, our last lesson, comparing modes of transportation. So here we looked at driving a car versus public transportation when you're in a city. So there might be a means of public transportation if you live in an urban center to look out. We have the hub, but it's not really a set up public transportation system the same way that like if you're in Thunder Bay or Winnipeg or Toronto when you have a full transit system. It can be daunting when you're visiting a new place to figure out the transit system. I generally find the internet is your friend. There's lots of information there. Things to consider with this is that the cost of the fare, how much a ticket costs, do you have to pay with cash? Can you buy tickets or tokens? Or is there a digital card? Or other things are changing constantly. So again, going on the internet and finding that information out before you get there is helpful. Does the age of the traveler matter? I know in Toronto, if you're under 12 and traveling, not even if you're traveling with an adult, if you're under 12, it's free to go on the TTC. That is not true in other places. So knowing that is useful. And how do you pay? Do you have to pay the bus driver? Do you pay at a station? How does that work? Then looking at the types of transportation, knowing what the stops look like. How do you find them? How do you get on? How do you get off? What are the names and numbers for the routes and the stops that you're going to need? All of these things are helpful to know beforehand because people in these cities, if they're comfortable, if they're live in these cities, then they usually really know what they're doing. And there isn't necessarily always ready information everywhere for travelers, for visitors. Also, renting a vehicle is another thing to consider if you're traveling. So booking a car reservation is usually a pretty low risk. You do need a driver's license and a credit card. It's best to respect your pickup and return times and doing it during operating hours because they're going to charge you if you're not on time. So being there and knowing that you've interacted with a person so they know the times are the times that you're supposed to do it is great. You want to inspect your vehicle before you get into your car so that you know what state it's in. Generally, it's a good idea to reject pricey extras. Insurance is tricky in terms of if you have your own personal insurance for your own vehicle, is it worth it to get? Sometimes it's worth it, sometimes it's not. You decide that for yourself. Always you want to fill up your gas tank before you're returning your vehicle because they're going to charge you a higher cost per liter if your gas tank is not filled up. And you want to record any damage that happens so that you can report that back and if that's covered by any insurance that you have. So the support questions for lesson 20 on page 44. Number 1, Sherry is thinking of using public transportation when she goes to school in Ottawa. A monthly bus pass is $73.50. She thinks she will go out twice a month and pay $50 for taxis each time she goes out. She also thinks she'll spend about $750 on a trip home that she has to pay for. What is the annual cost of public transportation for Sherry? So a monthly bus pass of $73.50. That's monthly, so we need to times it by 12, assuming that she pays it every, she does it every month. Going out twice a month and paying $50 for taxis each time, well, so that's going to be 2 times 50. So that's twice a month, and then that's going to be times 12, which would be in total. And then spending about $750 on a trip home once. So again, when we're doing these annual costs, which is kind of like how do you budget, then you want to make sure you're thinking about everything in a yearly amount. So that's $2,832 that Sherry needs to plan for the year for travel costs. What is Sherry's monthly cost for using public transportation? So if she's budgeting monthly, so we're going to take $2,832 divided by 12. So $263. Sorry, $236 is how much per month she should budget so that she has enough to pay for her bus passes, her taxis, and a trip home. Number 2, Wally sees a third option for renting a car at the airport, which is national car rental. So with this, again, you need to think about how much per day. So it's $38.99 per day. There are taxes and fees, which is $15 per day, and you get 350 free kilometers and any 15 cents for any additional kilometer. You have to pay insurance for $23.95 per day. So if you're calculating how much you're going to rent for 7 days and traveling 400 kilometers, you need to think about each of those things, which are daily prices, and then the extra surcharge for the kilometers, just like leasing. We don't have time to go through that exactly, but you can see this is the solution for the other two, and you can see you have to do the daily rental, the kilometers you're being charged, and so then the overall cost to figure out which is the best option. And that is all the time we have for, which is covering all of our review from up to lesson 20 now. So you reviewed everything this past week and you're ready to do your culminating activity. So if you have any questions about what we reviewed, as well as preparing for your culminating, let me know. Give me a call at 807-737-1488, extension 2209, or toll free 1-800-667-3703. Email me at bronwyn.slate@nnec.on.ca, or send me a Facebook message at bslatewasa. Remember, all of these lessons, the full extent of all of our lessons are up on YouTube on my channel, bslatewasa, under a playlist, MEL3E. Everything is there that you need to review, to slow things down, to check stuff out that you missed. Go back and check everything out. Good luck with your review. Thank you so much for joining me today. Bogwich.